there was a quorum present because many of my colleagues went back to the floor of the House of Representatives in Texas. And just for clarity, and for the record, I chose, along with several others, including one of the people you had on your show with me last week, Representative Jolanda Jones,
yes.
And several of us refused to go back to give them the quorum. I did not believe that I should be complicit in my African American and Hispanic demise by participating in that sham to give them cover because some people wanted to go back and make quorum. And so, long story short, they had a quorum. They called they referred that bill out because they can't refer bills out if there's no quorum, and they referred it out to the redistricting committee. They immediately met and voted it out. They made changes with no public hearing, no public testimony, even though they made changes to the bill that was presented before. They made some changes, but they did not do anything to allow the public to weigh in. They had a sham hearing, and where they could just hear, basically bring the bill up and then the committee vote. Long story short, the committee voted on a straight party vote to pass the bill. All Republicans voted yes. No surprise there. All Democrats voted no. The calendars committee, which is the next step, it goes to calendars. They met this morning. They passed it out on a straight party line vote. This sham of a bill will be on the House floor tomorrow, Wednesday, for a full vote with a quorum present. And for those who don't know, for the members who came back, the only way that they could leave the chamber, they came in, they locked the chamber. So those people were effectively
you said they locked the chamber?
They locked the chamber. Once they locked the doors, and then they had a DPS officer at the door, so you could not leave the chamber. The only way a member could leave the chamber was they got a permission slip that they would sign and have a escort by the Texas Department of Public Safety, which is our Texas law enforcement, a state trooper is what it is. A state trooper would have to follow you and escort you wherever you go to ensure your return on Wednesday. So one of our colleagues, as many people may have saw, Nicole Collier, who was the chair of the Black Caucus before I was, she refused to sign that slip, and she therefore had to stay inside the chamber where she currently is now. She's been there. She had to stay there overnight. She will have to be there another night. Yes, until we reconvene tomorrow. She cannot leave. Even when we reconvene, she can't leave the chamber unless she acquiesces and signs it, which she's not, or once the bill passes and they release the call on the House. So this is a real authoritarian. Everything that you stated is true. We're led by dictators. They want to create a police state. They are bending the rules in the Constitution. They're doing everything they can to hold on to power. And I, for one, hope that people who listen to us are ready to be engaged and ready to vote, ready to understand that this is not the country that is the land of the free, that they want to take us back to that Reconstruction, that pre-voting rights era. They want to take away and strip away black and brown voices in having a representation. And they're trying to do this right before our very eyes, and we cannot be complicit. So I'm ready to continue making good trouble. I'm going to do everything I can to keep sounding the alarm bells. I thank the Transformative Justice Coalition and everyone that supports the efforts of Black Voters Matter, and everyone who is ready to say, not on our watch will we allow them to take us back. That's where we are. That's the state of play. What I anticipate is that tomorrow, once the House gavels in, they're going to ram that bill through as quickly as possible without much debate. They're going to limit debate, and then they're going to pass that bill on the floor, send it over to the state Senate. They're going to pass it, and then they're going to get it to Governor Abbott, and he's going to sign it, and they're going to have a bill signing ceremony and say, mission accomplished. Trump, we delivered you 5 new Republican seats, and so what? We gerrymandered and racially gerrymandered 5 black and brown, but mostly black seats. Congressman Al Green's seat is now will be a Republican seat. The 9th Congressional District is Republican. He will have to be running in the 18th Congressional District because that's where he's merged. Congresswoman Crockett will be merged with the 33rd Congressional District for 1 Congressional District in the Dallas area. So we're reducing African-American congressional seats by 50% when they should have been expanding by 50%. So that's 100% reduction because they were underrepresented based on the 2020 census. So that's the state of play in Texas. It is awful. It is. I'm ashamed, and I'm really very, very disgusted with our Republican leaders, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the speaker, all of them, and all the people who support them are complicit in everything that I just discussed.
Daryl.
One of the questions I have for you with all of that's going on, and certainly our hats off to Representative Collier for taking that position and refusing to be forced into plantation-style politics. One of the questions I wanted to ask you is, how is your community, how are the constituents, how are the people that make up the masses in Texas, how are they responding to what's going on?
Well, I will tell you, the overwhelming response of people of color are they're on the right side of history. They're disgusted with what they're seeing. They're fired up. Especially African Americans, because they see this is what they're doing with surgical precision, and we raise the antenna. Republicans are being quiet. They don't want to speak out. They're afraid of Trump. No Republican member, elected official, has said anything to denounce it. They're like, silence is complicity. So they're either high-fiving it, or they're not saying anything. So the Republicans are pretty much, they're not like doing cartwheels because they know it's wrong, but they're not speaking up to do anything to stop it either. They know this is crazy. They know this is authoritarianism. They know that this is not the way our democracy should function, but they are so afraid of the wrath of the MAGA base that they would rather be quiet and keep their seats than be statesmen and, speak up against an injustice. And so overwhelmingly, it is divided based on race and party. The Democrats are overwhelmingly against it. They're even against the Democrats that came back. They've been getting a lot of heat. The thing that kind of took the focus off of them was Representative Collier taking a stand and everyone kind of cheering her on. That kind of took some heat off of those who actually came back. So overall, the base of the party, the base of Democrats, particularly African Americans, are very upset. But I hope that they would channel that energy into voting and not getting upset and saying they just won't complain and be mad and throw apples at the TV, but they will get registered and register other people and volunteer and knock on doors and make phone calls. That's what I'm hoping, that they would turn this into a positive way of resistance, like showing them that we'll show you. You thought you were going to silence us. You were going to do everything you could to keep us silent by taking away our vote. But no, we're going to go and we're going to be more determined to go vote. We're going to wait hours in line if we have to, because we know they're closing polling locations. They're doing everything they can. In fact, I hope you'll talk about this on your show today. President Trump has said he wants to take away ballot by mail. He wants to eliminate
voting by mail. It's his latest
voting by mail. That is unfreaking believable, because guess what? They tend to vote more Democrat. He's doing everything he can to tip the scales and take away democracy, to hold on power by rigging the system. So that should fire our people up. And I say our people of good conscience. You don't have to just be black, but, when you think about the civil rights movement, the people who were of good conscience said, hey, this is not the America that we want to see, when they saw what they did to people crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge and beating John Lewis to a pulp. They said no, and then they rose up, and then they helped to get President Johnson to sign the Voting Rights Act to end that stuff.
Yeah.
So I hope that people of good conscience that are white, that are Asian, that are Hispanic, that are saying, I may be Republican, but this is not the Republican Party that I want to belong to. I'm going to vote my conscience, and I'm going to vote against this authoritarian, fascist, that we need to level set and take our country back. And so that's what I hope we'll see. But we have to continue to keep people engaged, because people have a short attention span. They move on to the next news cycle. But I hope that we can sustain a movement all the way through November of 2026. That's the only way, because they're thinking, oh, we'll do this, and then they'll forget about it. They'll go back to their boots on the ground, or waving at Beyonce, or football or basketball or whatever it is. They'll go back to that. They won't remember what we did. I hope that we will not let them forget.
Well, Ron, the good news for all of us is that this will not be forgotten. And because, one, we're going to continue to make sure that people are reminded and educated about it. But also, on the sad side, this man won't stop. I mean, his whole alleged executive order that he's going to, quote, issue to say that you can't have, voting by mail is unconstitutional. He has no such power. He can't tell the states what to do. He has no authority over state-based elections, no authority over federal elections. He has no authority over any elections, period.
That's right. That's right.
People.
There you go.
So understand that a lot of his mouthing is not backed by any real authority. It just means that those of us who are lawyers are going to have to do what we do. We're going to have a lawyer. We're going to have a fight. We're going to fight this packing that they're doing right now in Texas to create these districts to basically kill black political power, to diminish it in Texas. We're going to have we know what we got to do. We're not going to sit back and just let this happen. So I just want people to know that factually, regardless of what Trump says day after day, newspaper after newspaper, press conference after press conference, he has no authority over elections. And he will lose every single case we bring that we challenge him where he tries to regulate elections, because he has no such authority. That's just a fact. Daryl, when I was listening to Ron talking about the locked doors, I thought about something that you must have, the image that had to cross your mind also as a criminal defense lawyer, and that is prisoners, right? Aren't they imprisoned? When you got somebody saying you can't move at your free will, we got the doors locked, we got a sergeant at arms who's going to, stop you, and you got to have a permission slip. I mean, come on, isn't that imprisonment, Daryl?
Well, it certainly sounds very close to it if it's not. At the minimum, I guess appropriately it would be called house arrest, since they put the House of Representatives there under arrest, under lock and key, and they needed passes and escorts to get around and make them sleep on the House floor if they don't act right. But it's really interesting because, Dr. Dibinga, we see what's happening in the state of Texas, and then within a blip, we can't even turn to the left, and here's D.C. under siege, with all these federal officers. I mean, you're on the ground there in the District of Columbia. You live in the district. You have a business in the district. Can you share with us what's going on? Can you give us that ground level? What's going on, Doctor?
Well, the first night that we were having this announcement, I was hosting guest hosting for Roland Martin's show, and his studio is 2 blocks down from the White House. And I have a house in Southeast, and so I needed to go there afterwards. And for those, who are listening, other places, hear this later, Southeast, Ward 8, that's our hood, in D.C. comparatively, for other cities. So I had a feeling that when I leave, I'm going to see this National Guard presence all around the Capitol, like in terms of the monuments and, near the White House and all of that. But I wasn't expecting to see any in the hood where they say, like, all the real crime is. And lo and behold,